All right, welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be looking at Job chapter 4. So let's get into it. Then Eliphaz the Temanite answered and said, okay, so I think we are going to see Eliphaz attempt to prove that Job is some kind of hypocrite and deserving of his ordeal. Verse 2. If we say to commune with thee, wilt thou be grieved? But who can withhold himself from speaking? Behold, thou hast instructed many, and thou hast strengthened the weak hands. Thy words have upholden him that was falling, and thou hast strengthened the feeble knees. But now it is come upon thee, and thou faintest. It toucheth thee, and thou art troubled. Is not this thy fear, thy confidence, thy hope, and the uprightness of thy ways? So if we consult the Benson commentary, we'll see that Eliphaz has questioned Job's authenticity, if that wasn't already clear from the language. Sometimes this Old English can be a bit confusing. Although I will say, to echo the sentiments of Harold Bloom, I shared this on my Instagram yesterday, steeping oneself in this era of literature provides one with cognitive power. I would not be able to think the thoughts that I think had I not read through the King James Version of the Bible a handful of times. So, in regards to the Benson commentary, is not this thy fear? We now plainly see what was the nature of thy fear of God, thy confidence in him, the uprightness of thy ways, and thy hope in God's mercy. Thy present conduct discovers that it was but mere talk and appearance. In thy prosperity, it was easy for thee to make a splendid profession of religion. But men are best known by affliction, and this trial now shows what thou art. For now thou castest off thy fear of God and thy confidence and hope in him, and hast relinquished the integrity of thy ways, which before thou didst seem to hold fast, whereas true piety is uniform and constant, and steadfast in all varieties of condition, and under all trials and temptations. So I ask, this is me, is Eliphaz right on this point? Ought Job to have been perfectly resigned? Is that even possible? Is that the model that God really has for us? We see later in the New Testament that maybe even Jesus was not entirely resigned to his fate when he asked if he must drink of this cup before his crucifixion. I'm sure there's a lot of debate about this point, and I've perhaps said something controversial, so don't take what I'm speculating about here as definitive. Perhaps Jesus in the right light was perfectly resigned. But this is going to get to another point that I bring up about perfection as it was understood in the Old Testament. Verse 7, remember, I pray thee, whoever perished being innocent, or where were the righteous cut off? Even as I have seen, they that plow iniquity and sow wickedness reap the same. By the blast of God they perish, and by the breath of his nostrils are they consumed. So I think the point here is to demonstrate how easily God's wrath is roused against the wicked. And I do find it interesting that the wicked are depicted as lions here. This symbol of the lion takes on different symbolic loads at different points in the Bible. Both Jesus and Satan are analogized to lions. The roaring of the lion and the voice of the fierce lion and the teeth of the young lions are broken. The old lion perisheth for a lack of prey, and the stout lion's whelps are scattered abroad. Now a thing was secretly brought to me, and mine ear received a little thereof. So Eliphaz is going to have a vision. In thoughts from the visions of the night, when deep sleep falleth on men, fear came upon me, and trembling, which made all my bones to shake. Then a spirit passed before my face, the hair of my flesh stood up. It stood still, but I could not discern the form thereof. An image was before mine eyes. There was silence, and I heard a voice saying, Shall mortal man be more just than God? Shall a man be more pure than his Maker? Behold, he put no trust in his servants, and his angels he charged with folly. Verse 19, how much less in them that dwell in houses of clay, whose foundation is in the dust, which are crushed before the moth. They are destroyed from morning to evening. They perish forever without any regarding it. Doth not their excellency, which is in them, go away? They die even without wisdom. I suppose that I missed a part here. I missed a line. If we can revisit verse 7, I mentioned this when talking about the perfection. Verse 7 said, Remember, I pray thee, whoever perished being innocent, or where were the righteous cut off? So Eliphaz alludes to Job's secret crimes. And from the Benson commentary, who had not by his wickedness provoked so merciful a God to do what is so unusual and contrary to his gracious nature? Therefore, thou art guilty of some great though secret crimes, and thy sin hath now found thee out, and brought down these stupendous calamities upon thee. So, I think this sentiment can be understood with concepts such as the flood still in mind, but surely Eliphaz doesn't mean that calamities can't fall upon the innocent. Whatever that means, all men must die, and some die in calamitous ways. What I also find interesting in this discussion of Job is that all the players seem to take it for granted that it is within the realm of possibility for a man to be perfect. Whatever that means. If Job is mortal, then he has to be tainted by some aspect of sin, right? Or was the doctrine of original sin not really understood or believed in fully at this stage of the religion? What are the implications of that? I think it's pretty vast. Now, returning to Eliphaz's vision, I believe, if memory serves me correctly, God is not too happy with Eliphaz, all of Job's friends, at the end of the book of Job. So, where is this vision coming from? I think it's an interesting thing to think. And I haven't gone too far into it. It's going to be something that I hold in the back of my mind. But I found this dissertation from the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. It's called The Identity of the Spirit in Eliphaz's Vision and Its Significance for Understanding the Book of Job by Sung-Jin Kim. And I just read the abstract. I'm going to read it to you. And I think this was pretty mind-expanding for me. I can't remember. I've done 4 of these now. It was in the first or the second one. I mentioned how Job was perhaps even being tried by his wife, that Satan was possessing his wife. This might be a theme that is repeated in his trial. So the abstract reads, this monograph argues that the most plausible candidate for the spiritual visitor in Eliphaz's vision is Satan, who not only afflicts Job in the prologue, but also exerts his influence in the speeches of the friends and Elihu. Satan's message functions as a central premise of the speeches of the friends and Elihu, leading to a false denunciation of Job as a sinner. Eliphaz, as well as Zophar, Bildad, Elihu, continually rely on the vision's authority and message in their counsel to Job. As a result, Job remains innocent throughout the dialogues, and his integrity is further confirmed as God, in a theophany, reveals to him the real cause of his suffering and God's resolution to the problem of evil. In addition, Satan's prominent role in the book, coupled with the innocent sufferer theme, makes the book apocalyptic wisdom literature. Satan's challenge in the prologue and his malicious influence throughout finally meet an apocalyptic climax as Satan reappears on the scene as the serpent Leviathan, upon whom God pronounces his ultimate punishment. Job, on the other hand, finds consolation and vindication in God, and finally enters God's restoration and bliss. The book, thus, is organically connected as a literary whole with a coherent message about the righteous sufferer and the apocalyptic resolution to the problem of evil. Well, that's fascinating. Never in my entire life had I considered that Satan was delivering a false vision to Job's friends. Not that I spend all my waking hours thinking about this, but I think that was kind of a big aha moment and kind of changes how maybe we are to view what's happening in the book. Okay, I believe the next time I do one of these, I will have, it'll be a two-way conversation. So I've got to go set that up. And yeah, I'll make that happen for you guys. Next time it's Job 5.